Hi, it's Chef Mike with Tupperware, and today we're going to make pesto chicken and cavatappi pasta with sugar snap peas in our newest cooking product, the 4-in-1 MultiCooker. Why is it 4-in-1? I will show you. The base is actually able to be used as a pasta cooker, so you can cook dry pasta in the microwave in only 15 minutes. You can also cook other grains and rice the same way. However, if you're going to make rice, you would add the dry rice, the amount of water that's called for based on the quantity of rice, and then there's a rice insert, and then you put the cover on and lock it down until it clicks. And then when the rice is finished, you simply press down on the edges, and you have enough rice for a family of 4 in 20 minutes. But today we're not making rice, we're making pasta, so these particular pieces I don't need. So we're going to start, and what's so great about this is that the multi-part is I'm going to be able to make this entire meal stacked on top of itself all at the same time in the microwave. So I'm starting with my dry cavatappi pasta. You can use whatever your favorite pasta is. I just like cavatappi because with all of these little twirls and curves, it holds on to more of that pesto sauce that we're going to make in a minute. So I'm adding my dry pasta. I'm going to add a little bit of salt. You should always salt your pasta first. And now I'm going to add water. And there's a groove in here, and I'm adding water just to below that groove. So that's our first layer of the stack. Now we have the shielded colander, and the reason this is called the shielded colander is because it actually has a metal core. And you might think, metal? Oh my gosh. It's encased in our special plastic, but the reason that this is important, I will explain fully in just a moment. So to the shielded colander, I'm going to add, depending upon the size of them, I've got 5 boneless, skinless chicken thighs that I've cut into bite-sized pieces, and so I'm just going to dump them right in. Now I need to add a bit of flavor, so I'm going to chop up an onion in our Power Chef. Very quick work here. And as you see, in just a few pulls, I've got a perfectly diced onion. So I'm going to add that to my chicken. And then give it a little bit of salt and pepper. And just stir to mix. So these are the first 2 layers of our stack. Now I'm going to take the shielded cover. This also has a metal core. Now you'll understand the importance of all this metal. With the shielded cover on top of the shielded colander, this means that now it is a microwave-proof container. The food is not being cooked by microwaves, it's not being nuked, but the microwaves are very attracted to that water in the base, and it will make it boil, and it will create steam, so the food is truly being cooked only with steam, not with microwaves. So, into the microwave, 8 minutes. And it's time to do the vegetable part of our stacked meal. And I've got my sugar snap peas, but I want to add some color. So I'm going to take a bell pepper and cut it into strips. But I want to show you kind of a cool trick about how I seed a pepper. Most people just cut off the top and they reach in there and pull out all the guts like it's a pumpkin. I do it a little differently. So I'm going to cut off both ends of the pepper. Then I'm going to make one cut straight down. Then I'm going to hold my knife completely parallel to the cutting board, and I'm going to actually allow the pepper to unroll itself as I go. So notice I'm not changing the position of the knife, but the pepper is magically unrolling itself, and now I have a completely seeded or de-seeded red bell pepper. Now I'm just going to take my sheet of pepper and I'm going to cut it into strips. Real important knife skills tip. You should always hold your knives like this between your thumb and your first finger because you've got ultimate control of the knife. Most people are guilty of cutting like this and you have no control, and this is where accidents happen in the kitchen, especially with very sharp knives. So using proper technique and making the claw so that I don't chop the tips of my fingers off, I'm just going to very quickly cut the pepper into nice strips. All right, that's done. So now I'll take my sugar snap peas and I'm going to add those to the shallow colander. And you don't want to fill this up too much because you've got to be able to get the cover on top. So I'm going to add my peas and my pepper. Now look at those colors together. It's not just about the flavor, but it's also about the presentation. And I'm just going to sort of gently mix those together. And now we're ready. So as soon as the 8 minutes is done with the chicken and the pasta, I'll add the vegetables, and only 5 more minutes and we have dinner. Okay, now it's time to make the fresh pesto sauce to go with our stacked meal. And if you've never made fresh pesto, it is 5,000 times better than anything that you'll buy in a store, in a can, or even in the refrigerated section. Very, very simple to make. The first thing we need, of course, is Parmesan cheese, and I'm using my Great Master. So we simply slide the hopper into the base. I'm going to use the smaller cone to get a finer shred of the cheese. And you screw in the handle like that so that everything's attached. Now I simply lock the base because this is a suction base and therefore it's not going to go anywhere. So now I'm going to take my cheese, my good Parmigiano Reggiano, which is the best Parmesan cheese, only the best in my kitchen. And I'm simply going to grate this. Look at that, it's just flying out like a waterfall. Okay, that should be enough cheese for now. That doesn't mean I will not grate some later to go on top. Now to make the pesto, simple, simple, simple. In my chop and prep, I've got 3 cloves of garlic that have been peeled. I'm going to give them a quick chop to start the process. And as you see, that is nice, finely chopped garlic. I'm now going to add some fresh basil leaves that I've washed and dried. And it's always important to dry the leaves first because you'll end up with paste. I want pesto, not pesto. Okay, I'm going to give these a bit of a chop because I want to actually get more basil in there, but I don't have enough room at the moment. One little stubborn leaf hanging on, but that's okay. I'm going to give him some company. And I'm going to put the rest of my basil in. And now we're going to do some more chopping. Now, traditional pesto, the Genoa style pesto, has pine nuts in it. Now, if you don't like pine nuts or don't want pine nuts, you don't have to put them in, but it won't be traditional. And of course, I'm a traditionalist. So I've got some toasted pine nuts, about a 1/4 cup. And I'm going to add those now because I want to break them up a little bit before I add my cheese. Now it's starting to look like pesto. Now I'm going to add some of my cheese. I'm trying to get everything sort of combined. These are sort of my dry ingredients before I begin adding the olive oil because that is my secret ingredient. Ah, I hear that happy sound of the microwave. So let me get out our stack. And always, always, when you're removing the cover from a hot pot on the stove or from the microwave, open it away from yourself so you don't get a sudden, unexpected facial. The chicken is not done, and it's not supposed to be, but it's begun the cooking process. So I'm going to give it a quick stir just to break it up a little bit. It's already starting to smell really good. I can totally smell those onions. And I'll check on the pasta. And yes, it is cooking. That's good. And now all I have to do is take my vegetables, put them right on top, put the cover back on, and now back into the microwave for 5 minutes. So even after a long day at work, as long as you have the ingredients at home, there's no reason why you can't have a delicious home-cooked meal in such a short time without all the extra calories of a drive-thru. All right, back to our pesto. So I'm going to chop up the cheese a little bit. Now I'm going to begin adding my olive oil. Now this is all very subjective. Some people like a runnier pesto, some people like a thicker pesto, but the main thing is I'm only going to add a little bit of my oil at the beginning, maybe 2 tablespoons, because I want to begin an emulsion. If you add all the oil at one time, it's going to separate and it's going to be a real mess. Yeah, now it's beginning to hold together, so I can add a little bit more oil. About another 2 to 3 tablespoons. Now it's starting to look like pesto. Okay, for this quantity, I would say maybe 2 to 3 more tablespoons of olive oil should do it. And we'll mix it up again. Check. That, my friends, is what pesto is supposed to look like. So now we will wait until the 5 minutes cooking is up, and we'll put it all together and coat everything in pesto, and we will eat like kings. Okay, we are ready, as if on cue. So let me take our finished stacked meal, our multi-level meal, out of the microwave. Again, open it away from yourself. Look at those vegetables. The sugar snaps are perfectly cooked. And I'm going to put that on the inverted cover just so it doesn't get all over my counter. Now the chicken, I have to confess, I sort of overloaded this, so the chicken isn't 100% done yet. So I am going to put it back in for about another 3 minutes, but I'm going to leave the vegetables out because they're done. I do not want those to be killed. So, back on with the cover, back in for 3 minutes. Back with you then. There's the magic sound I was waiting for. So the chicken should now be completely done. Let's take a look. Yes, indeed. That chicken is done perfectly, nice and juicy. And if you wanted to use chicken breast, you certainly could. I just like thigh meat because it tends to be juicier and have a little more flavor. Totally up to you. All right. So I'm going to take the shielded colander and place that on top of my inverted cover. Now I'm going to take my vegetables, add those to my chicken, and now you're going to see another fabulous feature because I can use the shallow colander as a pasta drainer. So I'm going to drain the excess water from the pasta, and I really want to shake it good. I want all that water off because it means more pesto will stick. So here's our cavatappi, cooked perfectly, ready to go. So now I simply take the chicken and the vegetables and put everything together. Give it a stir just to sort of mix everything together a bit. But the best part is about to happen, and that is when I take this fabulous pesto that I just made, pour a good bit of it on top, toss everything in the pesto. Oh my gosh, I wish we had smell-o-vision. This is unbelievable. And then the last thing we're going to do, of course, is add more cheese than the average person probably would. Don't waste cheese. And we want to stir that in while it's hot so that it kind of gets melted in there. And the nice thing is that since we've mixed everything in the base, we can actually serve it right from this. There's no reason to dirty another dish. But if you insist, you can put it in a serving dish. But I'm going to plate up some for yours truly because I really, really want to dig into this. So I've got a plate. And I've got my beautiful pesto chicken and cavatappi pasta with the sugar snap peas that are perfectly cooked. They're still going to be crunchy. The red pepper adds a nice color. Clean my plate a little bit because even though it's going to be me eating it, I still want my food to look nice. And there you go.